Hey, good morning, all. Josh is Severe Weather, and thank you for joining me on this Friday morning. I hope your week has been blessed like mine. I'm going to spend some time talking about some tropical potential threats, and then we'll talk about some weather here across the central and southern U.S. that will be impacting some of your safety here and bringing more heavy rain and severe weather. So I'm going to share my screen with you here, and I apologize. I already started recording this video and then my internet randomly reset. So this is the second take. You didn't see the first because I didn't get through it. But this is Tropical Storm Dawn here, not a threat to land, and it is going to be making a right turn into cooler waters and likely weakening into a remnant low next week east of Newfoundland. But our next system is starting to take shape. We have an Invest 95L. There's another wave behind it that some models are developing as well. I'm not going to really talk much about that one. Let's deal with this one first. But this is something that could be potentially a problem for us down the road here. We also have Tropical Depression 4E in the Eastern Pacific. No threat to land. I'm not going to spend much time on that one, really any time. But here's Dawn over the north central Atlantic, 50-mile-per-hour wind and some organization. And then here is our next disturbance. This is 95L. And right now, the Hurricane Center says development's likely going to be kind of marginal at this point. However, the models are starting to think not so much. They are saying there's a better chance that this is going to develop faster than what the Hurricane Center says. So this could trend upward, or the models may just be too aggressive. I've seen a lot of models be too aggressive in the tropics. Even though we're in an El Nino, it just things don't necessarily continue on a strengthening trend. We get ebbs and flows in the tropics. But certainly if you're in the Windward Islands, you do need to be on the lookout for this, which it could potentially be a tropical storm. And the next name on the list is Emily. And the time frame for impact could be as soon as late Monday night, Tuesday morning. Here's a look at the water vapor image, and you can see the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico and the Southwest Atlantic are all looking very quiet with no areas of threatening weather at this point. The Eastern Pacific, pretty quiet except for our depression that's way out, already getting wind shear off to the south and west, so it's not going to be a long-lived system. And then this is Tropical Storm Dawn, which has somehow survived the odds to remain a well-organized system and actually maybe peaking in intensity here. Now, this is the Eastern Atlantic. Here's Invest 95L, right around the 40 west latitude, longitude, I'm sorry. And then the next wave behind it looked really nice coming off of Africa yesterday, and now it is already starting to hit the dry air and fade, but maybe we'll try to make a comeback here in about a week or so. And a lot of dry air in place here over the Eastern Atlantic. That's why we've had such a quiet July so far for the most part. More of the moisture has actually been near Bermuda and over the Northern Atlantic. This is Dawn here, but we are starting to see more of a pickup in activity here, a Kelvin wave moving across that is going to enhance convection. And we're starting to see that dry air getting eroded away. And what that means is the ingredients that keep storms from maintaining their thunderstorms are starting to weaken, allowing for a more favorable environment. It's not like the switch is flipped and we're very quickly seeing developing storm systems like we did, say, at the end of last August, but we are starting to erode into the dry air, and certainly that's what I'm going to be monitoring the next few weeks as we get towards the peak of hurricane season. This is, Tropical Storm Dawn, and the convection is wrapped around. You see an eye-like feature. Not a lot of development on the northern side, but it is starting to build a healthier structure, but it's going to run out of time to do that as cooler water awaits it just to the north and west. But we may see a little bit of a burst of strengthening here. The winds are at 50 miles per hour. I don't think it's going to become a hurricane, but I wouldn't be shocked if it went above what the Hurricane Center is saying based on this recent trend. It's really only got about 24 hours to do so. Then it hits the cooler waters and is already weakening later this weekend, passing east of Newfoundland by the start of next week. And the models all show that happening with an intensity forecast. Generally speaking, we reach kind of hit a wall about 24 hours from now, so Saturday morning, before we start to see a weakening trend. And then by next week, a remnant low, likely by Monday of next week. Now, here's Invest 95L, and you can see over the last few hours, we have seen things pick up. Now, and let me bring my pen on here so I can kind of show you a few features here. The center of the circulation is actually right here, but the thunderstorms have popped up on the northeast side and on the southeast side here. So until we get something forming over the center here, we are not going to see any kind of quick development. But in the last couple of frames, you do see something trying to get going here near the low-level center. So The low-level center and the mid-level center are not aligned just yet, but we are starting to see things wrapping. So we may see the beginning of what could be some development here into a tropical depression in a couple of days. Even though there's a 10% chance, there is a chance. So yes, I'm telling you there's a chance. So it's definitely something that I'm going to be monitoring here, and I'll give you guys updates on my channel as well. The GFS ensemble is now getting more aggressive here with potential tropical depression development. It's got, in about 24 hours here, a 90% chance this becomes a depression, and then takes it over towards Barbados, towards Martinique, Dominica, St. Lucia, into the Eastern Caribbean. And after a certain point here, by next Friday, unlikely to continue its intensity at this level into the Western Caribbean, according to this model. This is Dawn, by the way. You can see we're not expecting tropical depression strength by the time it gets towards Newfoundland. Here's where the ensembles that are running now show our system. And one thing sticks out, that's the purple line. That's actually the deterministic model, which does not agree with the ensembles. So until it does, I'm not going to put a lot of faith in it. But it is a scary looking track into the Gulf here next weekend. But don't freak out at this point yet. It's just one aggressive model, and we've seen this quite a few times. But interestingly, the GFS backed off on things, and now starting to show again we've got a potential threat. But overall, the ensembles, the mean, this is the black line, take it farther south into an area where it is going to struggle and may dissipate by the time it gets towards the Western Caribbean, south of Jamaica. You can see on the GFS here, this is the current run, 6Z, and it just takes it right across the Windward Islands. This is Barbados, Tuesday evening, Wednesday, and already dying by Thursday, much like we saw with Brett here last month. The model run before, that's the one that looked pretty scary, where it developed the system very quickly north of Barbados Tuesday night, and then took it into the northeastern Caribbean. And this is the thing I don't quite understand. It's weakening as it hits Hispaniola next Thursday, and then moving right over Cuba on Friday. And somehow after 2.5 days of time over land as a weak system going over mountainous terrain, it comes back like the Phoenix here and goes right over Dry Tortugas next Saturday and develops quickly over the northeastern Gulf and threatening Louisiana and Mississippi as a hurricane on the 31st. Now, yeah, I'm showing this to you. It's very unlikely because, as I showed you, the next model run had it down here and dying. But we've seen every now and then a few solutions that just look too scary at this point, and I don't want to forecast anything like that until I see more models that start to get on board with it. So at the time being, this is just very much an outlier, and we're not going to put a lot of faith in it. Here's the European ensemble. It was more aggressive than it is today, but you can see not just one potential system, but slow development possible with the next system here by the middle of next week. And you can see the European actually shows a slightly better chance this makes it into Central America and the Northwestern Caribbean next Saturday, but the chance is 10% that we even have a depression. By the way, the system behind it, it has a more aggressive approach to, but takes it north and east of the islands overall here next Sunday, the 30th, into Monday, the 31st. This would be something we need to be a little bit more concerned with for the East Coast, but it's still way far out, so too soon to make that call. But the only way this really stays developed is if it does go northeast of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Then we have something in this area here. And knowing climatology, we very well could have a recurve as well at this point. So just something we're keeping an eye on at this point. European ensembles, the mean of all of them is farther north. The GFS had it down here. The mean has it near Jamaica. And if it does that and tries to get past Jamaica, a couple of ensemble members do show a strengthening system north and west of the Caymans towards the Yucatan and into the southern Gulf. One solution as well somehow takes it north of the islands as a hurricane, east of the Bahamas, southwest of Bermuda. That's something we would have to keep an eye on it here. But I like to look at the mean and the trend, and right now that is much farther south over the Central Caribbean, which is not going to be, in my opinion, as threatening as something up in here. Here's a look at our new guidance now. We've got all the models being run on this Invest. And generally speaking, we have to ignore climatology models here and go with the operational ones. And generally speaking, the average takes it right to the north of Barbados into the Central and Northeastern Caribbean. And we don't even see anything past 120 hours south of Hispaniola, so a weakening system at that point. But one we're going to keep an eye on here. Intensification forecasts are across the board here until this develops. We're not going to see consistency here. But a fair number of models do show this becoming a tropical storm here by the end of the weekend, by Sunday. And then Monday and Tuesday, a few solutions are intense and even up close to Category 1 strength. I do think they're going to be too aggressive, but we'll keep an eye on them at this point. Until something does develop, though, the skill in this kind of a model and getting the intensity right is very low. So don't freak out about this at this point because it has yet to show that it would materialize. The European model, I apologize. As I said before, I'd cut this video and then lost my internet for whatever reason. My modem reset. But the European just doesn't show anything all that scary moving through the islands here and probably fading down in here. But the next model or the next system, it does develop into a tropical depression or storm, but it's already moving off to the north and east. And typically speaking, a track this far off is going to be a recurve and not a threat to the U.S. But it just kills off our first system here, potential Emily here, by the time it gets south of Hispaniola on Wednesday. So maybe another short-lived storm like Brett last month. Now, we do have a threatening situation going on here in the Western Pacific, Invest 98W, which is likely going to be a depression or storm east of the Philippines, according to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. Of course, no threat to the U.S., but I know a lot of you do have international interests, so you do need to watch this. A huge area of thunderstorms, and we're starting to see a more of a core of central convection right in here, and that means we may have development very quickly over the next day. And the GFS ensembles go mainly east of Taiwan towards China, South Korea, and maybe southwestern Japan. The European has not made that adjustment. It is more towards the Philippines and Taiwan. So a lot of places potentially in the crosshairs for this potential major system. You can see on this tropical model here, and the Philippines are just off the map, but we see a system that is developing over the weekend into a typhoon with pressures up around 970 or so by Sunday, and a very rapidly developing system into a major typhoon, a super typhoon by next Monday. You can see it's got the pressure all the way down to 917, 910. And this is Taiwan. Here are some of the islands east of Taiwan down into Iwo Jima. I don't know how many folks live on this exact island, but this is a very threatening situation if it does in fact evolve. But it does continue to take things northeast of Taiwan towards China and maybe a recurve. Let me zoom out so I can show you where this is on the map. And there we go. So this is China right here. This is Taiwan. This is Korea, and this is Japan. And this is kind of in between all of those ensembles, showing that northwesterly track. And if this is the case, we would have a devastating situation unfolding for China and possibly for northeastern Taiwan and Iwo Jima. So a lot to watch, but I'm consistently seeing model run after model run showing this developing very quickly as we get to the weekend, and a very rapid intensification as we get to the first part of next week. All right, so let's look at the U.S. Heat advisories and warnings, again in the southwest, in the deep south. We also have a severe thunderstorm watch in the Tulsa region into northwest Arkansas, and a severe thunderstorm watch for Jersey and Delaware for something that I think is falling apart quickly. And we have random flash flood watches and warnings for parts of the North Country as well as parts of the Tennessee Valley. Flash flood warning in Memphis this morning, and multiple complexes, one moving out over the water that hit the Carolinas and Georgia yesterday. Next one bringing heavy storms into northern Mississippi and the Memphis area. And then the one to watch for severe weather today is tracking quickly through Oklahoma and will move into Arkansas later this morning. We also have our intense cyclone here moving through the St. Lawrence Valley, and more storms expected across the Northeast and New England today. This was a nasty setup yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to talk a lot about it, but you can see widespread severe weather around the Great Lakes region, Western New York and Pennsylvania. We saw over 500 reports of severe weather yesterday. It looked like the most intense wind was actually across Ontario in a community called Sarnia. Maybe a potential tornado touchdown there yesterday afternoon. A lot of cleanup going on today. It'll be the Chronicles of Sarnia. And then we saw our complex of storms that raced down through Tennessee into Georgia and South Carolina yesterday. That also brought a lot of widespread wind damage. But the one to watch now is the one that's moved through Oklahoma. And we have a slight risk from Arkansas all the way down to Savannah, the land of the bananas here. Slight risk encompassing about 13 million people, surrounded by a marginal risk. We have a marginal risk in the Northeast as well, and over the high plains and Front Range. And you can see here, this is the area of slight risk zoomed in, mainly a wind threat at this point. We're seeing it moving through Oklahoma this morning, but after 7 a.m. Central, it's going to be around Little Rock, and then moving through Birmingham, Montgomery, Atlanta, Macon, south of Augusta, but into Beaufort County, Allendale in South Carolina, and then all the way down to about Brunswick and St. Simons here. So that is where we have our most threatening chance for severe wind throughout the afternoon into this evening. Some hail is possible as well, a 5% chance of severe hail. Tomorrow, we're down to a marginal risk from East Texas down into northern Florida and the low country of South Carolina. We may have another complex moving through here. We also have a marginal risk in the northern plains. And you can see that zoomed in here. Lots of folks are in this risk. We could see a slight risk upgrade at some point. But right now, the certainty level is kind of low. Just be on the lookout for maybe some more stronger storms. And then I haven't shown you a map like this, but Sunday, right now, no areas of severe weather being shown. I'm willing to bet that's going to change and we'll have a marginal risk. But right now, no organized areas for Sunday. The reason why is we've got our big region of high pressure here that's going to be growing and moving northeast. And that's going to set up hotter temperatures next week across the Midwest and the plains. You'll also see here, I was very concerned about there being not much of a monsoon season, but we are going to see storms starting to move their way into Arizona and Utah from the monsoon. So as our high pressure region shifts east, we will bring some moisture up here into places that could use some rain, but we may see a few stronger storms as well. Here's our flood risk for today. Watching the area from near Tulsa and Stillwater down into western Georgia. Also a flood risk across the northeast up into the Hudson Valley and up towards Montreal and Quebec. Let me zoom this out and show you New Mexico with the monsoon moisture does have a slight risk for flash flooding today. Tomorrow we see a marginal risk in some of the same places. It'll quiet down across the northeast. And here is Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And we're drawing moisture right back up into the northeast and into the Appalachians here. Let's get this moving. Rain potential here is super high across parts of the South. Over the weekend, we have the potential to see 2 to 3 inches of rain over Alabama, Georgia, and northern Florida. A lot of rain as well over parts of Arkansas, and you can see the Northeast is going to continue to get pretty wet here. Not super wet across Kentucky or the Ohio Valley. We get a chance to dry out over the next several days. But a look at the Northeast, and you'll see we've got heavy rain this morning and into this evening, and additional rain as we get into next week. So that's why we have that flood threat. Even though it's only a couple of inches of rain, we certainly don't need that kind of rain after what we've had the last several weeks here in the Northeast. Here's a look at our complex across Oklahoma, and you can see severe weather will be moving into the Tulsa region here around 7, 8 in the morning, and then spreading east towards Muskogee, and then heading into Arkansas here late this morning, and then quieter weather, but we could see some severe weather moving into West Texas and the Panhandle here late this evening into the overnight. Quieter weather for Oklahoma tomorrow. Arkansas is going to get busy this morning, though, and severe weather likely to move through with the threat for damaging wind and hail. It should get to the Memphis area. I think it'll actually be a little faster than this. The model shows 3 or 4 o'clock. I think maybe 1 to 3, and then moving into the Delta region and then out of this area by the evening. Just a few scattered showers over the southern part of this region tomorrow afternoon. We are going to be pretty busy, though, here. Watching the Tennessee Valley part of Alabama this morning, and then watching our complex following that, moving into places like Tupelo and maybe Muscle Shoals and even Birmingham towards 5, 6 o'clock. Do be on the lookout here for very heavy rain, flash flooding, lots of lightning, and locally damaging winds. This will move into Georgia in the evening. We'll have additional showers and storms possible afterwards. And then we quiet down some here early tomorrow morning, but additional storms down towards the I-20 corridor in the afternoon could bring us some intense amounts of rain and lightning and certainly some locally strong wind by tomorrow afternoon. I think we're going to be clearing the beaches here as this complex moves in from the north and west, likely going to bring a shelf cloud down with it. So be prepared for that. Farther east in Georgia, we are going to see another wave of potential severe weather moving through late in the afternoon and especially tonight. You can see that moving through central Georgia, heading towards the low country here, and certainly some strong wind potential. More showers and storms moving through for the first part of the weekend. I don't think they're going to be as intense, but keep an eye on southern Georgia here for some severe weather potential tomorrow afternoon. Finally, temperatures are going to start heating up. You see we're below average over the northeast and north central U.S. today. But over the weekend, we start warming up. And next week, here comes the heat across the plains and spreading into the Great Lakes region by Tuesday and Wednesday. And we still have some unsettled weather that's going to hold temperatures back a little bit here later next week. But we are going to see the hottest temperatures of the season, most likely across Missouri, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Iowa, and spreading into Michigan and into southeast Canada. So maybe some excessive heat in this region as well, especially in Missouri. And you can see it's building here next Sunday, where we have potentially 20 above average temperatures, while it's going to cool off here across Canada. And some of that's going to head into the Northeast as we start August. Here's a look at high temperatures today. Record heat in Tallahassee, Mobile, New Orleans, San Antonio, Del Rio, El Paso, and Tucson, Arizona. Tomorrow, you can see it starts heating up in Montana and the Dakotas. Here's a look at Sunday. We're heating right back up in Dallas after a few cool days in the upper 90s. We're right back to 100 here on Monday, and here comes the heat next week. 101 in Kansas City, 102 in Topeka, 100 in Jefferson City and Columbia. And next Thursday, that heat continues as we're in the upper 90s in Minnesota and in places like Stevens Point and Madison, lower to mid 90s in places like Evansville and Indianapolis towards the end of next week. All right, we made it through this video. Thank the Lord. Appreciate y'all's time today. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. If you're in an area impacted by tropical systems, I'm going to have more updates for you this weekend and next week. And we also have the ability for you to become a member and support me here at about 33 cents a day. That will allow you to have more priority response to your comments. I see a lot of folks are commenting. I really don't have a chance to chime into a lot of them. Unfortunately, just got a lot going on in my life. But if you become a paying member, you support me and you help give me a chance to grow my reach. And if you need a tailored forecast, I'm happy to answer you there as well. I mean, think about it. $9.99 a month isn't a lot to get a really good forecast. And I feel like that's my gift. God has given it to me. I want to profess to you all that I can't do anything without God, who sent his son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross for me. As a Christian man, I feel I have a gift. I think we all are given a gift by God to do something to make an impact in our short lives. But we also have the opportunity to be called back home by God through Jesus Christ to eternally live in his heavenly body eternally. I mean, that's forever. And I was not a Christian until I was about 30 years old. I knew that I had the gift to be a good forecaster, but I felt like I was kind of being selfish and kind of hard on myself. And eventually the door opened for me to become a Christian man and to accept Jesus as my savior. And since then, I've been able to grow as a Christian and been able to kind of impact more people. And most importantly, be an example to those around me that one day I will have eternal life and I can live eternally with Jesus and no longer be judged by people, but be judged by God. Isaiah 40:28 through 31, hast thou not known, hast thou not heard, that the everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary. There is no searching of his understanding. He give power to the faint, and to them that have no might, he increaseth the strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But that they wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. And I think we all get to a point in our life where we feel that we're losing our touch, we're losing our strength, we're weary, we're exhausted from doing what we're doing. We're asking ourselves, is it just going to keep getting worse, or is there going to be some relief coming at some point? Well, God promises through the prophet Isaiah that he is great and he shall renew the strength in those and mount their wings like eagles. He will give us the strength and the encouragement to continue to be great in our life. It may not look like it on earth because we're relying on ourselves to have that strength rather than looking to God for that strength. And I just want to encourage you to never stop chasing God and never stop chasing your faith. And if you are a person who is not a believer and you're still watching and you're probably getting upset with me, and that's okay. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to take it personally. You're upset because you don't believe what I believe, and that's fine. I'm open to other people and what they believe, but I do know this, that every day I struggle, but I look to the Lord to lift me up. And somehow, some way, I see as many blessings. And I just pray that that's the case for you as well, even if you're not a believer, that you realize that this is not a random chance that you're just here on earth now and we're looking at this video. This is God leading you to hearing the word that he has professed through Jesus Christ, that we will be renewed and that we will have eternal life. I would love to pray for you. If you have any prayer requests, Don't be bashful, even if they're unspoken. I'm happy to pray for you. And if you could pray for me as well, I very much would appreciate that. I really appreciate y'all's time today. I hope you stay safe if you're in the South, and look forward to connecting with you here again on Saturday. Have a blessed day. See ya.